New episodes of escalation of naval war instigated by Russia after killing the grain deal comes somewhat not exactly as Russia expected. Good afternoon, this is Henry Keane on UATV English, breaking hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. In case you somewhat did not notice, the war on the Black Sea was unleashed by Russia. As early as November 25, 2018, the Russians committed an act of aggression against Ukrainian ships near the Kerch Strait. Russian fleet was, of course, directly involved in a full-scale invasion from February 2022. The escalation of the naval war was exactly the plan of the Kremlin after it decided to kill the grain deal. And not only the deal they killed. Russians also killed 1,800,000 metric tons of grain, more than 25 harbor facilities and 9 civilian marine vessels in just first 9 after-deal days. Then the Kremlin announced that from now on, all the vessels that enter Ukrainian ports are considered enemy vessels and will be targeted and treated accordingly. Again, slowly. Ukrainian vessels, while entering Ukrainian ports, will be attacked by Russian ships. Well, since that is the case, Kyiv decided it is a good idea to resort to a symmetrical response in return. We are on our own land, after all, and in our own seas. No Russian dictator dictates here. Ukraine warned that we would also consider Russian ships and vessels as enemy targets, in particular in the territorial waters of Ukraine. Ukraine has the means to fight against the enemy Russian fleet all across the Black Sea. The SIG tanker, despite Kyiv's warning, was illegally traveling through the territorial waters of Ukraine. So, for those of you saying no Russian vessel can ever be touched because it is a sacrosanct Russian vessel and blah, 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 and so on, well, to bring you the hard truth in easy terms, this vessel, SIG, has provided military logistics for Russia in annexed Crimea and was officially under US sanctions since 2019, so it can be said that our naval drones just closed the Russian loophole in the firewall of international sanctions. Oh, that's okay, don't thank us, just expect for more. On August 56th in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, with representatives of more than 40 countries, a peace summit was held discussing the principles of restoring a sustainable and just peace for Ukraine. The key words are exactly that, sustainable and just peace. Otherwise, it is no peace but a favor to the Kremlin, allowing Putin to exhale, have a time and space to get necessary resources and then unleash its war of aggression onto Ukraine again and again and over again. Because this is exactly the Russian way, you see, to make everything Russian way and just destroy the rest. Ask an ex-Soviet country, any ex-Soviet country, for example, my native Latvia, they will tell you more about it. But now, so just peace means Russia out of Ukraine. No territorial concessions in favor of Soviet dictators. Ukraine is no Russian matryoshka doll that can be opened at any Moscow time and some parts to be taken. No, we never started this war, but we will be the ones who end it. Ukraine, most of all, among all countries, strives for peace on its territory, but actually, dear world, you consider it territory of Ukraine. We consider it home. Like any other country, we desire peace at our homeland. And like any other country in the world, we demand it to be just and sustainable. Not just a pause or hold for the aggressor to take a rest.
The path to peace in Ukraine must be based on respect for the principles of the UN Charter and international law, and these principles were agreed upon in Jeddah. The Ukrainian peace formula is based on them in particular. Sovereignty and territorial integrity of countries are the inviolable foundation of peace. Andriy Yermak, head of the Office of the President of Ukraine, on Telegram.
Peace in Ukraine is in the best interest of the whole world, you see, obviously, since the continuation of Russian aggression has devastating consequences for the global economy, the social sphere, the environment, the system of international security and international law, you name it. The summit in Jeddah is the invitation to the discussion of the principles of the just and sustainable peace. First of all, for the countries outside of the Ukraine's traditional allies circle in the West. China, Indonesia, Egypt, Brazil, Zambia, they all have their own voices and positions and points of view which is important to convey. all participants of the summit testified their adherence to the principles of the UN Charter, international law and respect for the sovereignty, inviolability of the territorial integrity of all countries.
The message from Jeddah is this brutal war of aggression by Russia is also affecting people in Africa, Asia and South America, since it has application far beyond Europe for the future of the international order to issues of energy security, rising grain prices and the global food supply that Russia has so ruthlessly worsened. Annalena Baerbock, German foreign minister, in an interview with Bild.
The central topic the discussion in Jeddah was the peace formula of President Zelensky based on nothing else than the said UN Charter. The participants agreed to the creation of working groups so that each state determines its role in the implementation of individual topics and points of the formula, as simple as that. The summit was held without the participation of Russia, which prefers war to peace, a constructive conversation. It is really hard to be a shard of the empire these days when the days of empires are just over. However, the absence of the Russian Federation did not prevent other participants from gathering in Jeddah. The last but not least, the presence of the Chinese delegation at the summit is a major sign to the world, sent directly from Beijing. China is ready to act and start the discussion to resolve the issue of Russian aggression against Ukraine in an attempt to find a way to follow Zelensky's peace formula altogether, so to turn this outrageous war into just and sustainable peace on the planet, whatever Moscow thinks about it. Now, that would be a short one. According to Ukrainian intelligence, the Russians in Belarus may be preparing provocation at the Mozyr Oil Refinery. Our intelligence services inform us that the Russians could be simulating missile launches at Ukraine from the territory of Belarus on August 5th. Russia seeks to drag Belarus into the war, with Ukraine to maximum extent possible. To do so, Moscow decided the obvious to provoke a direct conflict between Minsk and Kiev. Moscow also plans to use Belarus to escalate the conflict with the West, primarily Poland and Lithuania. Mercenaries from the PMC Wagner is a Russian sort of a Trojan horse in Belarus. They came to the country to start a war, and that is nothing new. Ukraine does not need another military theater in the north. However, our defense forces are ready to repulse attempts of a new invasion from Belarus direction when and if necessary. Lukashenko and Putin all clear with these two, an outdated villain, master, and dim-witted hillbilly servant at work. And I have only one question in this case. What about Belarusians? The dictatorial regimes in Moscow and Minsk understand, of course, that the Belarusian people most likely do not want war. Therefore, this is the way Putin and Lukashenko are trying to change the public opinion and moods in Belarus. So my question is, will Belarusian people stand up, finally, and tell the world they do exist, and the country belongs to them, and not to the couple of Soviet mummies? It was Henry Keane with some hard truth in easy terms for you on UATV English today. Ask us a question, and we do our best to answer it in our daily episode on Sundays. Like us, subscribe, and comment. Let us know your opinion. It is what really matters to us. Stay safe and tune for more.